All right, welcome back.
Everybody.
Whoa,
Mondays,
whoa.
3:30 Central. It's the more charming host, Ferris.
Why'd you steal my thunder, man? I was supposed to do the Money Monday part.
Because, okay, you can't be selfish, Ben. All right? It's all about not being selfish and networking in multifamily real estate. So what are we talking about today, Ben?
We are talking about the power
again.
What? The power of networking in multifamily real estate investing, building relationships and finding deals. I think, we've talked about this on the show, folks, right? It is
probably every show.
It is a relationship game. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to people, find somebody that does, right? Because you can't be behind your laptop just crunching numbers and feel like you're going to be successful in this business. In a lot of ways, you have to build relationships with a ton of people, and that means brokers, that means lenders, that means investors, that means other vendors that you have, and you need to be able to effectively communicate with all of those people. So let's get right into this, because we do this every Monday, because it's Money Mondays at 3:30 p.m. But getting into some questions that we had before the show. So how can networking help investors find new deals and opportunities, right?
I mean, really,
that's
it's
huge.
Build partners, man. Where did I meet Ben? Networking.
No,
right?
that's true.
So
I don't think maybe not everybody that's watching the show now, but I mean, we've talked about this on the show. I've talked about this on podcasts. We literally met at a networking event. Right? This stuff works, folks.
Absolutely. So it's not just out there to find, and again, you don't know who you're going to meet. And that's the thing, right? Like people say, haven't you been to a million conferences? Like what more could you learn? And really, we're not in there to learn. We're usually we're in there to learn some, but we're out there to network, right? And it's, then the question is, well, what do you need? You have a growing business. And the answer to that is you don't know who's going to walk through the door. There's always different ways things can grow, different things that can happen, different avenues to explore, different things to learn from someone that's been there, done that, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to be always networking, especially in this business, right? This is not a business where you can just be kind of a loner, right?
Yeah.
You don't really grow, right? It's about finding people, growing together, learning from them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you can't do it unless you're constantly putting yourself out there. And so I think that's the biggest thing to think about, right? And that's what leads to partnerships. That's what leads to investors. That's what leads to new revenue streams and new avenues and, JVs, and all of that stuff starts with knowing people and them knowing you.
No, I think that's huge, right? And one thing that I'd say, there's a couple pieces of advice, right? And as much people probably don't realize this, I'm not necessarily an extrovert, right? Even though I speak on stage and I'll go to a fair amount of networking events, that's because that's just part of what we do, right? You have to do it, right? I don't necessarily enjoy it. And I know there's a lot of you that are out there that are maybe even more introverted than that. And the actual idea of going to a networking event probably gives you anxiety. I get it. Right? Just know that not everybody that you're going to come up and talk to is going to try to put you through the ringer and, call you out or throw you a curveball question. In fact, most of the time, they're probably just going to be as nervous and as anxious about the idea of being at a networking event as you are, right? So just go up there, some icebreakers are just, how did you hear about the event? Or how do you know the host? Or, how long have you been in real estate for if you're at a real estate networking event, right? That gets the conversation going, right? The other piece of advice that I'd say is, so put your fears aside and just go out there and take some action, right? I get it, right? But if you want to be successful, you got to push through that. Be intentional, right? And I think you do a fairly good job of this, probably better than I do, because he talks about 50 people and I talked about 10, right? You have to be intentional.
The secret to that. You
gotta
always go to the restroom. So anytime you talk to someone, the conversation drags out. I gotta go to the restroom. And then the trick is to talk to somebody else on the way to the restroom. So you're constantly being accurate with what you're saying.
That's true. You're making your way towards the restrooms, right? But being intentional is okay. So what am I trying to get out of this event, right? And not necessarily everybody wants to get educated, and we go to events and we still get educated too. We don't know it all. Nobody knows it all. Right? There's still golden nuggets and strategies that we hear people doing, and we're like, well, that's pretty good. We're going to implement that immediately, right? But what we're talking about is networking and being intentional with your networking, right? And I think it's important if you are going to an event, but you need money for a new deal, or maybe you feel like, hey, to take it to the next level, I need to find a partner. What people don't realize is the networking event that me and Ferris met at, I was really hosting that, not necessarily to troll and try to get investors, right? It was more so to find partners that I could do deals with, right? And that actually ended up working, right? So you need to be intentional. What do you want out of that networking event? And make sure that you're actively trying to have the conversations with the right people, right? If your whole goal is to find money and you're talking to other people that are doing deals the whole entire time, well, guess what? You just blew the whole entire night.
Yeah, and go to the right events to start
Go
with.
to the right events. Yeah, of course.
Understand, just like marketing, if you're going to spend money marketing, understand who you're targeting. Actually, that's some other meetings I had this week. It's a lot more thought into really understanding who you're targeting and where those people are and what is the approach and what are they looking for, right? It's about your fishing. So make sure you fish for the right fish, bring the right bait.
No, that's absolutely true.
And fish in the right place. So it's a little bit of both. You're not going to catch a catfish in the middle of, I don't know. You're not going to catch a shark in the middle of lake. So make sure you're fishing in the ocean if you want a shark. And you're not going to catch
fish for a
You're
shark,
also not going to catch a shark with some seaweed. So make sure you bring the right bait.
Hey, I know some guys that eat some seaweed, but
you're not going to catch a shark with that.
That's true. That's true. But a lot of this stuff you can find out. Like, okay, so again, folks, if you're looking for money, you're looking for passive investors, but you go to a meetup that's operators of Houston, right? You're not going to find a lot of money there. You might not find any money there. Right? So start off with doing some research on the events that you're going to first and foremost, right? Because you want to go to a target-rich environment, right? If you're looking for money, you want to go where money's at, right? But I mean, again, keep it brief. Doesn't mean that you have to artificially cut it off and say you have to go to the restroom like this guy, right? But at the end of the day, you also don't want to spend your whole entire night talking to two people. Right, especially if there's 200.
Especially if you spent $2,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 to be out there.
Or maybe it's just it's a one night event, and you spent money, you spent time, and you really need money, and then you just blew it talking to these two guys the whole entire time, right? So again, be intentional because if you know exactly what the goal is, you go to the right events, you can typically find what you're looking for, which is either money, a partner, maybe a vendor. Or deals, right? You're not going to find a lot of deals at networking events, but maybe you'll find partners that have a deal, and maybe you've got money.
Yeah, or we find people that know someone that has a deal.
That's true. That's true. I'm just saying, you typically don't see brokers. In fact, they don't really network a whole lot, but which is kind of an odd thing. But at least the real estate agents do on the single family side, but not the commercial guys. But that's kind of what networking. I mean, you can get a lot out of it if you do it intentionally, right? All right. So moving along, what are some effective?
Yeah. So you met the person. What do you do next?
You met the person? What do you mean, what person?
You went to a networking event, you met a person.
Oh, that's great.
Right? That's the topic, right?
I like it.
How do you maintain and build that relationship?
I think the thing is it's all in the follow-up, right? And we all struggle with that. We come back from a 3-dayer and you got 60, 100 cards in your pocket, and you're like, what the heck am I going to do with this? And you have all the best of intentions of putting it in your CRM and following up effectively, and then 2 weeks go by and 3 weeks go by, and I've been guilty of this too, so is this guy. A month goes by and you're like, dang.
More so that guy.
You're like, dang, I didn't even follow up with these people. I had great conversations and I didn't cement the relationship by quickly following up. And you know what? Most people don't do that, right? In fact, I am always shocked. There's always 1 out of like 50 guys or gals that will do the follow-up like within the first couple days, and I'm always blown away by them. And I've actually had people that will call me and be like, hey, we met it on Saturday. It's like Monday or Tuesday. I'm like, man, great follow-up, man.
I actually remember it versus the guy that will email you a month later and say, hey, we had this just happen. Hey, I was at your meetup.
Oh, no, it was the one that was...
So it was you
he met us at Infant, which was a February event. And it's like, we're going on April, dude.
It was months ago. I mean, I don't remember who you were. Sorry.
And we literally didn't. I emailed him. I'm like, do you even remember who this person was, right? And so point is, you go through the trouble of identifying a good event. You go and you do your networking, get out of your comfort zone. You meet some great people, but then you don't do anything with it, right? So you have to do the follow-up, and it has to be effective too, right? So calling them probably, a little bit more bold, but at least giving them an email and trying to get some kind of an additional action item, right? If that's somebody that you really want to build a relationship with, push for a phone call, push for a follow-up coffee or a drink or dinner or whatever, right? Don't just be like, oh, it was great to meet you. Hope I see you again. What's the follow-up there? There's no follow-up, right? Whereas, hey, it was great to meet you. I have some time next week. Do you want to grab dinner maybe Tuesday or Wednesday night at 6 p.m.? That's more specific, more intentional, right? But what about maintaining those relationships, right?
Like Ben said, it's about the follow-up consistently, right? And find reasons, even like...
The value, adding value too.
Adding value for sure, but even stupid things like, sending them a reference to something they may have alluded to as a joke, right? Like I like to do that. Like, actually, perfect example. We had dinner one time with a person, and they brought another person, and this person ended up being an old roommate or a close friend of a broker that we know. Boop, took a selfie, sent it over, right? Stupid things like that are things that make you stand out.
Yeah.
Right? Be memorable to these people. Because again, they're getting a lot of phone calls too. So how do you start to be that person that they think about so they're not scratching their head whenever you send an email saying, who was this guy?
Yeah, and I think brokers too, right? Brokers, they have a lot of phone calls. They meet a lot of people. So this is not even just like traditional networking and you're trying to find a partner or money, right? Let's talk about deals and talking with brokers. The follow-up is key. Being top of mind is key, which is what Ferris is kind of alluding to.
Do what you say you're going to do. It's probably also part of it, I'd
huge.
say.
Like, if you say you're going to do something or you're going to follow up at some point, do that, right? But also be memorable. Be top of mind, right? We've done handwritten notes to gifts as follow-ups to certain brokers and to certain relationships because that was how valuable those people are to us, right? And yeah, it's going to cost you a little bit more money. It's a little bit more of a pain in the butt, but do you want to be memorable and top of mind to these people whenever a deal comes out or whenever you need money? Or do you want to just be, an email and a sea of other emails, right? Because you can be rest assured if you meet an affluent person at an event and they just pass out 100 cards, you're going to have to be the person that stands out with that guy, and if you just send a follow-up email.
So if you go tackle that person, you will be memorable.
Yes, you might be, maybe not for the right reasons, but they will at least remember you.
Everybody remembers a Will Smith slap. Nobody remembers that Will Smith won an actual award
he'd already won though.
Nobody he had never got an Oscar, but he finally got an Oscar, but you remember the slap, not the Oscar.
No, I know.
I forgot he had.
Well, I was completely tarnished too. But come on. I thought it was a total joke, and I'm like, wait, he actually slapped that guy. Anyway, all right, we're on a tangent here. But, we're talking about nurturing relationships, building relationships to be successful in multifamily, right? All right, so something that we've talked about on other shows, right? Has technology and just kind of online platforms, how can you leverage those? How are those kind of helping expand networking these days? Now, I've got a great one, but I want to hear yours.
I mean, there's a lot of tools out there, right? There's not an excuse to not have a tool leverage, right, to make life easy in terms of the follow-up. When's the last time you followed up? Taking notes, setting reminders, all of those things. If you're diligent, there's tools out there to make it easy for you, right? What else did you have? Something specific in mind?
So what is he referring to, folks? He's talking about CRMs, right? That will allow
Is that what you were talking about?
No. I was gonna bring another one.
You got me excited. You made it sound like it's something better.
No. I was gonna say Zoom and Teams and all that stuff, right? Because before COVID, now we used Zoom prior to that because we were a tech company too, right? Or we're a tech company that happens to do real estate, But at the end of the day, right? A lot of people hadn't been introduced to that, right? Well, what ended up happening during COVID? All of the networking events went away. Right? So how are you going to connect with anybody? So we all went virtual. We all went on Zoom and Teams, right? And so if you're an introvert and you don't like to be in front of people, or maybe you're just not feeling it that day, at least getting on an online event, and meetups still have a ton of that, and there's a lot of this stuff online. Getting on an online event too, right? And just having a conversation. You can have a glass of wine and you're at your own place.
No, it's true. You can have these meetups without a lot of effort. Is what Ben is trying to say. That's valuable.
Like, you don't even have to get in your car and dress up, And so there's really no excuse for people not to leverage that technology these days. And again, folks, 8 years ago, 10 years ago when we started off in commercial real estate, the stuff wasn't around. You had to get out of your comfort zone, in order to meet these people. Now there's a lot more online stuff. Right, so leveraging that, taking advantage of that, that's huge, And so CRM, HubSpot, the online platforms, Zoom and Teams are big ones, and get comfortable with those because that's just the wave of the future. That's not going to; those things are not going away, right? All right. So we talked about this a little bit. How do you evaluate the quality and the potential of a networking opportunity or relationship in the multifamily investing space? I think the quality of the event. Right? Ultimately you can look it up and, is there a fair amount of people that have gone to it in the past? Have there been good reviews? And then we always ask this too because we put on a lot of events, right? Like who's got good events that
what are they selling? What is the goal of the person putting it on?
Yeah, that's true, right? If you're not wanting to get sold and, or again, we go back to what we talked about earlier, which is it's only for operators or people that are wanting to buy deals, but you need money. Probably not going to be the best event for you, right? So it could be a quality event It's just not the right event for you to go to, right? So you need to, again, be able to, define that. What are you looking for? And then ultimately find the right thing, right? And I think when it goes into relationships too, right? The person that's always gimme, and never adding value or providing anything to you, and that's just like people in life, folks. You just got to watch out for them. And they are all over the networking scene. I've seen people ask 1,000 questions and, I'm going to invest. And they haven't pulled the trigger in 10 years. That's just, so you got to watch out for that too, because people will take advantage of your kindness, right? But some Q&A right now.
Yes,
Let's
if you have
go
comments,
ahead
questions,
and do
thoughts,
it.
please go ahead and ask it. We'll answer it live. First question, what is your favorite CRMs?
Well, we just talked about that, right?
So let's walk them through. So what we've done as a company, right? Before we used this thing, pen and paper, right? That was Ben. That was before Ben and I partnered up, okay? Then, we basically, really the first one we really started using was, from the beginning, was MailChimp.
Yeah, it was MailChimp.
Right? And so MailChimp is a free,
I think you get a free
there's
one.
a paid version too. I think the free one gives you 100 people, or I don't know, 500 people.
Maybe it's a little bit more these days.
But then from that, right, MailChimp works great, but then we moved over to ActiveCampaign, which gave us more complex features, and then now we're on HubSpot, right? Those are all good, and I like to tell people there are bad CRMs, but you can't really go wrong by at least starting with any CRM, right? Any CRM is a magnitude better than probably what you're doing before. So don't overthink it. Don't be the person with analysis paralysis. I got to go try 20 CRMs. Just start somewhere. Over time, you'll find what things you like, what things you don't like, and then you'll make sure the next CRM has the things that you like and doesn't have the things you don't like.
Yeah, you want some basics, right? But I think a lot of it's going to be driven by your budget, and I think some of this is, we went MailChimp free, ActiveCampaign costs us some money, and now HubSpot costs us a lot more. But we, as a company, we needed that more robust feature set, and we ultimately have a lot more people on our list too, right? But I'd also say Zoho. We've used that in the past too. So I think all four of those are great platforms in their own right. It just depends on what you're looking for. I would say if you're just looking for kind of like maybe a trimmed down CRM with like an email component to it, I love ActiveCampaign. I thought ActiveCampaign was pretty cool. Yeah. And it's really not all that expensive. HubSpot's kind of like the Cadillac, and so is Zoho. So you're going to pay up a little bit for that, folks. But those are the CRMs that we have used. So go check those out. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Thoughts, please ask them. Otherwise, we will keep moving forward.
All right. Well, it wouldn't be a Money Monday unless we talked about
Multifamily Investor Network, MFIN, our big conference. We're doing the next one coming up in San Francisco in a few months, 3 months, 4 months, 3 months.
When the heck is August?
August is month 8. We're in month 3, so a little bit less than 5 months, so 4.5 months away.
Oh my gosh.
So plenty of time, folks. I would love to see you there. It gets more expensive every day, every minute on the hour, so book sooner than later. Use coupon code DISRUPT to get a discount.
No, we try to keep it cost effective. We want as many people out there as possible, folks. We don't make any money on this. We're not selling you anything. We've talked about this on the show, right? We just got some great speakers that are our friends. We got great panels. We got great breakouts. Right, we invite all the vendors that we use, so these are all trusted folks. So you almost got a business in a box, right? And come out there with intention. What are you looking to do? What are you looking to learn? Who are you looking to develop a relationship with, right? Because we curate the whole entire thing. There's a whole lot of networking going on. Hence, it's in the name, Multifamily Investor Network Conference, right? It's August 5th, 2023, San Francisco, California. Shouldn't be too hot.
No. Should not. Apparently, I was wrong. But it's the sun. You feel it. So I've walked around San Francisco where that sun beats on your face.
Well, yeah. I think it's anything. It's sun in your face, right?
San Francisco sits up really high, right? Elevation-wise. No, I'm joking. It's coastal.
I was about to say. I
wanted to see if this guy's paying attention.
There's some hills around it, but anyway. So check it out. mfinvestornetwork.com. Put in coupon code DISRUPT. We're getting close on the VIPs, but we're still got plenty of the executive tickets left. Love to see you out there. About 400 plus people is what we're looking to have in San Francisco Bay Area in August. It's going to be beautiful. Look forward to seeing you there. But what are we talking about next week, my friend?
About the rise of passive investing. What you need to know in this year.
Oh my gosh. So check it out next Monday,
Would
Money
love to
Mondays,
see you guys
every
there.
Monday.
Every Monday.
What time?
3:30 Central.
See you then.